Our country, being an island, uses fishes as a natural resource for income and food. Many Filipinos work as fishermen all the way from the waters of Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. General Santos City is known as the tuna capital, and Dagupan City is the bangus capital. We also take pride of our dinggit from Cebu. Indeed, the ocean provides vast amounts of fishes to sustain man's lives. However, the ocean can only provide as much. It needs to recuperate in order for it to continually provide one of man's source of protein. One of man's abuses is overfishing. This means harvesting fishes faster than they can reproduce. Worldwide, it is estimated that more than 80% of fish species have been overfished. In the US alone, fish stock is depleted by 95% because of increasing demand. Ecologists and economists estimate that if overfishing and ocean pollution is not remedied, all populations of arrested fishes could collapse by 2048. So today, we will discuss about the oceans and fisheries to understand why we must keep the oceans healthy for future generations. Thus, at the end of this chapter, the students should be able to describe the global ocean and its significance to life on Earth, describe and distinguish among the four main ocean life zones, define El Nino and La Nina and describe some of their effects, contrast fishing and aquaculture and relate the environmental challenges of each activity, identify the human activities that contribute to marine pollution and describe their effects, and explain how global climate change could potentially alter the ocean conveyor belt. So let us start by discussing the patterns of circulation in the ocean. Water in the ocean dominates the earth. It covers about three-fourths of the Earth's surface. This is home to many animals, from giants like whales and little ones like planktons. The ocean is essential to Earth's hydrologic cycle, which provides us with water and also influences climate and weather. We have three patterns of circulation in the ocean. These are gyrus, Coriolis effect, and ocean conveyor belt. Let us first discuss the gyrus. These are large circular ocean current systems that often encompass an entire ocean basin. These are also generated by persisting prevailing winds blowing over the ocean. So this picture shows the basic pattern of the ocean currents. The blue arrows are the cold current, and the red arrows are the warm current. As you can observe the difference of the pattern of movement of the northern and southern hemisphere, a clockwise pattern in the northern hemisphere is observed, while a counterclockwise pattern can be observed in the southern hemisphere. Next is the Coriolis effect. This is the result of Earth's rotation and weather patterns and ocean currents. In northern hemisphere, surface ocean currents swerve to the right, which was caused by the Earth's rotation from west to east, while in southern hemisphere, ocean currents swerve to the left, moving in a circular counterclockwise pattern. Deep ocean currents are affected by seawater density. Density increases as temperature decreases, making the cold water saltier and colder water flows under warmer water. Moving on to the third pattern, we have the ocean conveyor belt. This picture below is the ocean conveyor belt, which affects regional and global climate. This represents the global circulation of shallow, which is warm, less salty, and deep, which is cold, saltier current.
Wind from the atmosphere affect ocean currents, and heat from the ocean affect atmospheric circulation. Two of the most common of this interaction between the atmosphere and the ocean are the El Niño Southern Oscillation or ENSO and La Niña phenomena. So based on the picture presented, I believe you already have an idea of the difference between the two. Before further discussing El Niño and La Niña, first let us define what is ENSO or El Niño Southern Oscillation. The ENSO is a scientific term that describes the fluctuations in temperature between the ocean and atmosphere in the east-central equatorial Pacific. Its opposite phases of what is known as the El Niño Southern Oscillation Cycle are the El Niño and La Niña. So what is El Niño? El Niño means the little boy or Christ child in Spanish. It was originally recognized by fishermen off the coast of South America in the 1600s with the appearance of unusually warm water in the Pacific Ocean. The name was chosen based on the time of the year, around December, during which these warm waters events tended to occur. It is sometimes referred to as the warm phase of Enso, while La Niña means the little girl in Spanish. It is also sometimes called El Viejo, Anti-El Niño, or simply a cold event. La Niña episodes represent periods of below average sea surface temperature across the east central equatorial Pacific. During a La Niña year, winter temperatures are warmer than normal in the southeast and cooler than normal in the northwest. It is sometimes referred to as the cold phase of Enso. El Niño and La Niña episodes typically last 9 to 12 months, but some prolonged events may last for years. While their frequency can be quite irregular, El Niño and La Niña events occur on average every 2 to 7 years. Typically, El Niño occurs more frequently than La Niña.
The world ocean accounts for the majority of Earth's surface, yet is the least known of its domains. It's an enormous watery wilderness from which all life emerged, but which is now mostly inhospitable to human beings. It's no surprise, given its size, that the marine world encompasses an enormous variety of ecosystems, from vibrant coral reefs and shark-haunted kelp forests to desolate abyssal plains and gaping submarine canyons. Oceanographers commonly partition the ocean into five zones, which can roughly be divided into three basic realms. The three major ocean life zones are the following. First, the intertidal zone, the zone between low and high tides. Second, the pelagic environment or ocean water. And the deepest, the benthic environment or bathyal zone. This is an illustration presenting the major ocean life zones and their corresponding depths. Organisms living the foreshore of the beach must be adapted to both wet and dry conditions as this area is underwater at high tide. Animals like sea anemones, barnacles, chitones, crabs, isopods, limpets, mussels, sea stars, snails and whelks have all adapted to survive being smashed by rough waves or carried out to sea. The littoral zone can refer to the shoreline of a body of fresh or salt water and also means any area close to the water or influenced by the water. For a freshwater biome, the littoral zone is the area with abundant light close to the shore. The littoral zone in a pond or lake allows for prolific photosynthetic activity and consequently hosts almost all of the aquatic plant life. Because the water is so near to littoral zones, both freshwater and saltwater, the organisms existing here are often found in dunes or estuaries. The large amount of water available helps to create a nice habitat for a variety of plants and animals and adds humidity, a feature that allows for the more unique organisms to survive. Humans also frequently rely on the littoral region as can be observed in the large populations living near the sea. The littoral region consists of three subzones called supralittoral zone, the intertidal zone, and the sublittoral zone. The supralittoral zone, or spray zone, is only underwater during storms and is located between the high tide line and dry land. The intertidal zone is located between high and low tides, and the sublittoral zone is always underwater and is below the low tide line. This zone extends all the way to where the continental shelf drops off into the abyssal plain. The pelagic zone is the part of the open sea of ocean comprising the water column, all of the sea other than that near the coast of the sea floor. The pelagic zone is divided into five zones: the epipelagic, mesopelagic, bathypelagic, abyssopelagic, and hadopelagic zone. The epipelagic zone stretches from the surface down to 200 meters and is home to the greatest biodiversity in the sea, largely because of the availability of sunlight that enables photosynthetic organisms to thrive. Both marine plants and animals are found here. From 200 to 1000 meters is the mesopelagic zone, a twilight zone where some light filters through but does not reach a level of brightness necessary for photosynthesis to occur. The bathypelagic zone is from 1,000 to 4,000 meters and completely dark. Bioluminescent organisms, some of the strangest marine creatures of the deep, live here. Plants are non-existent in the bathypelagic zone. Animals that can live here survive on the dead material or detritus that falls from surface zones on other animals that live in the deep sea. The giant squid is a resident of the bathypelagic zone and serves as a food source for deep-diving sperm whales. Most animals in the abyssopelagic zone, located from 4,000 meters down, are blind and colorless due to the complete lack of light. The name abyssopelagic comes from the Greek meaning bottomless abyss, in times where it was thought that the deep ocean never ended. The hadopelagic zone is the area of deep water in the deepest ocean trenches. Hadopelagic is the Greek for Hades, or the Greek underworld. The photic zone, or the zone with light, of the open ocean consists of the epipelagic and mesopelagic zones. The aphotic zone, or the zone without light, of the open ocean consists of all the zones lower in the ocean. The lower zones are often simply grouped into the aphotic zone by marine biologists due to their similarities. The benthic zone is the ecological region at the lowest level of a body of water, such as an ocean, lake, or stream. In this zone, we can find the abyssal plain and/or the Hadal zone. The abyssal plain is a flat or gently sloping part of the ocean floor reaching a depth between 2,200 to 5,500 meters. In the abyssal plain, rocks are embedded into the ocean floor due to the lack of supporting heat energy below. This effect results in the flattest and smoothest regions of the world. Abyssal plains usually are found between the base of continental rise or shelf and a mid-oceanic ridge. The ocean was not always smooth but became covered in fine-grained sediments like clay and silt deposited from turbidity currents and channeled down underwater canyons into deeper areas. Other sediments adding to the effect are clay particle dust blown into the sea from land and tiny pieces of dead plants and animals falling from surface layers. The Pacific Ocean has the least number of abyssal plains, the direct result of sediments in submarine trenches surrounding the Pacific Ocean becoming trapped. The Hadal Zone is found from a depth of around 6,000 to 11,000 meters and exists in long but narrow topographic V-shaped depressions.
Human impacts in the ocean. One of the great paradoxes of human civilization is that the same ocean that provides food to a hungry world is used as a dumping ground. Coastal and marine ecosystems receive pollution from land, from rivers emptying into the ocean, and from atmospheric contaminants that enter the ocean via precipitation. Offshore mining and oil drilling pollute the Neritic province with oil and other contaminants. Pollution increasingly threatens the world's fisheries. Events such as accidental oil spills, such as the devastating Deepwater Horizon oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico in 2010, and the deliberate dumping of litter, pollute the water. The World Resources Institute estimates that about 80% of global ocean pollution comes from human activities on land. The ocean contains valuable food resources. About 90% of the world's total marine catch is fishes, with clams, oysters, squid, octopus, and other mollusks representing 6% of the total catch. Crustaceans, including lobsters, shrimp, and crabs, make up about 3%, and marine algae constitute the remaining 1%. Fleets of deep-sea fishing vessels obtain most of the world's marine harvest. Numerous fishes are also captured in the shallow coastal waters and inland waters. According to the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, the world annual fish harvest increases substantially over the years. Resources in the ocean and more susceptible to overuse and degradation than land resources, which individual nations own and for which they feel responsible as no nation has legal claim to the open ocean.
The most serious problem for marine fisheries is that many species have been harvested to the point that their numbers are severely depleted. Overfishing can impact entire ecosystems. It can change the size of the fish remaining, as well as how they reproduce and the speed at which they mature. When too many fish are taken out of the ocean, it creates an imbalance that can erode the food web and can lead to a loss of other important marine life, including vulnerable species like sea turtles and corals. Contributory to this is the modernization of commercial fishing methods as the demand for fish protein increases with human population doubling. Aside from this, bycatch will also simultaneously increase. In recent years, fish harvest by aquaculture has continued to increase while fishing or wild catch has leveled off. When we say bycatch or unwanted catch, these are fishes or other marine species caught unintentionally while trying to catch another type of fish. Ecologically, bycatch can change the availability of prey, which affects marine ecosystems and the productivity of fisheries. Bycatch can negatively affect species such as dolphins, sea turtles, protected fish, and whales by harming animals, contributing to population declines and impeding population recovery. Another major contributor to aquatic resources degradation is pollution. Millions of ships dump oily ballast and other waste such as plastics overboard in the Nearctic and oceanic provinces. Huge quantities of trash containing plastics are released into the ocean, sometimes accidentally, from coastal communities or cargo ships. Plastics don't biodegrade, they photodegrade, which means that that exposure to light breaks them down into smaller and smaller pieces that exist for an indefinite period. Industrial exploitations also include development of resorts, cities, industries, and agriculture along coast, which alters or destroys many coastal ecosystems including the mangrove forest, salt marshes, seagrass beds, and coral reefs. Other human activities are offshore mining of reserves of oil and minerals. These have long been tapped as a major source of energy. However, obtaining oil and gas resources from the seafloor generally poses a threat to fishing and the coral reefs. Offshore oil drilling uses seismic air guns. Now, what are these seismic air guns? These air guns are used to find oil and gas deep underneath the ocean floor. They are so loud that they disturb, injure, or kill the marine life, harm commercial fisheries, and disrupt coastal economies. These dynamic light blasts, which are repeated every 10 seconds, 24 hours a day, for days and weeks at a time, are 100,000 times more intense than a jet engine. So these blasts harm the marine mammals, sea turtles, fish, and other wildlife. Finally, global warming not only affects the aerial environment but the ocean environment as well. This would definitely affect the movements in the ocean conveyor belt. The global conveyor belt is a strong but easily disrupted process. Research suggests that the conveyor belt may be affected by climate change. If global warming results in increased rainfall in the North Atlantic and the melting of glaciers and sea ice, the influx of warm fresh water onto the sea surface could block the formation of sea ice, disrupting the sinking of cold, salty water. This sequence of events could slow or even stop the conveyor belt, which could result in potentially drastic temperature changes in Europe. So that ends the report of the ocean and fisheries. Thank you for listening.